So before starting this tutorial, if you love Rashmika Mandanna, just like this video and share it to the people who love Rashmika Mandanna too. So first of all, we are going to start this tutorial with drawing hairs, and before that we are going to decide which method we are going to use. And as always, I am going to use grid method for this particular Rashmika Mandanna sketch. So dimension of this particular portrait are horizontal 13 boxes and vertical 17 boxes. One box is equal to 1.5 centimeters. So use this grid technique, and if you don't know how to use grid technique, just comment down below. I will make another tutorial for you all so that you can know, or you should know, how to use a grid method, because it is the most useful and the easiest, I can say, technique for making any portraits or any drawings that you want. If you want a small portrait or small photo into a big one like foot or inches, so that you can use this technique too. So first of all, we are going to make the hairs of Rashmika Mandanna. So as every time in every sketches, I always tell everyone that while sketching hairs, if you see the hairs of particular portrait or the reference picture, or the person's hairs are almost equal to black, some parts are looking little bit shiny, but most of the parts are black of hairs. So always use charcoal pencils. There are two type of techniques of using charcoal pencils. You can make a powder, and you can use powder and use the makeup brush or painting brush and make a base layer with it, and then finally make a second layer and third layer. But you can also use charcoal pencils for making a base layer, first layer and third layer. So for the base layer, I am going to use a hard charcoal pencil first of all and sharpen your charcoal pencils. But the problem is that the charcoal pencils are easily breaked, or if you don't know how to sharpen your charcoal pencil, just comment down below. I will make a tutorial for you all so that you know how to sharp your charcoal pencils, because charcoal pencils are a little bit softer as compared to graphite pencils. The sharpeners that we use for sharpening our graphite pencils, we should not use, or we cannot use the same sharpeners with our charcoal pencils. So we have to use blades for sharpening our charcoal pencils. And if you are under 12 or 13 years age, you should not use blade right now. Tell your parents that they will help you out for cutting blades and your charcoal pencils. And if you still don't know, you can search on YouTube or Google or anywhere so that you know how to sharpen your charcoal pencils. So first of all, for the base layer, I am going to make a hard charcoal pencil, sharpen hard charcoal pencil, and make the hairs or small hairs as much as I can. And the difference between most of the ladies or females hairs and men's hairs are that men's hairs have too many directions, like some hairs are going upward, some hairs are going downward, but most of the ladies or females hairs are particular in a straight way. Or if you can focus on the upper part of the forehead, where the hairs are going a little bit curvy and downwards in a straight way, no other directions most of the time. So see the direction first of all where the hairs are going. So using the same direction method, I am going to make first of all upward to downward hairs with hard charcoal pencil. Then I'm going to use a makeup brush. You can also use paint brushes and blend every hairs. What I mean about saying every hairs is that if you will focus on your hairs also, there are millions of hairs in your hair, right? So practically making millions of hairs is not possible. So you have to make as much as hairs that you can, so that those small hairs make a little bit difference and it look more realistic. You want realistic sketches, right? You don't want a sketch will look like a sketch or a portrait, but it is not realistic. You want a portrait is equal to your realistic sketch, right? So for that, you have to have patience and make more and more hairs, or make more and more details. Now for the forehead part, in every portrait that I have made in the last 3 or 4 months, I always tell that don't use a blending stump on the face or for blending the face structure. And what I mean about saying those words in every portraits and every tutorials, we will see the same result here in this portrait. So first of all, for the tutorial, that in previous parts that we have used blending stumps on the face, those were a clean blending stumps, but problem here is that the blending stump that I have used in my particular portrait here were little bit used in my previous parts. So after blending or using those parts, or for the base layer I have used 2B pencil, and for blending the base layer I have used a blending stump which was not cleaned properly. So the 2B pencil grade is the least grade and it should look like a white type. But after using the blending stump which was not cleaned by me, so it is giving me a little bit 4B to 5B look, and the look or the skin texture or the skin tone of Rashmika Mandanna is not a mid-tone or a black tone, it is little bit whiter tone. So after using the blending stump I am having a mid-tone or little bit darker tone. So this was the difference, and this was the thing that I was every time telling you all, that don't use blending stumps. And the thing that was remained in our hairs part is that first of all, use a base layer which is hard charcoal pencil. Make so many hairs as much as you can with the directions of hairs. Then use a makeup brush, or you can also use a paint brush for blending those parts of hairs only. And after blending those parts, use a mono eraser for making the shining parts. See where the light source is going, and the particular portrait that I am using of Rashmika Mandanna, light source is on the front side, so of course the shining will be a little bit on middle and upper part of hairs. So making those parts little bit shining, you have to use a rubber which is pointed one, and I will recommend that use a mono eraser for making those highlights. Then for the second layer, use soft charcoal pencil, and soft charcoal pencil is the darkest one. So using a soft charcoal pencil you can have the darker tones, and the darker tones are little bit outside or inside parts. See the details where the darker tone of portrait or darker tone or darker sides are going on, so that you can apply it on your portraits also. And after using a soft charcoal pencil, blend it using a makeup brush, or you can also use a blending stump, but I will recommend that use blending stumps for blending those parts. Now finally, the same thing that we have applied on the upper part, we will apply on the left side part of the hairs also, and the same thing that we have used in the forehead part we will use here also, so that we can have more shining and more appropriate things, and we will see on the other part. So that was all for this tutorial. If you have learned something from this video, subscribe and drop a like, and comment down your question and queries regarding this tutorial. Meanwhile, take care of your loved ones too. Have an artistic day. Tattoos.